Before we actually allow questions for our three panelists, we would like to do some brief modification. We'd like to go straight away to our third keynote speaker tonight. She's Jaha Dukureh, UN Women Goodwill Ambassador for Africa. She's from Gambia, and we're going to take a keynote address. After that, we're also going to take the 5-minute opening statement from the second set of panelists, and then we'll allow an opening question for all the 6 panelists. So that's what we're going to do. But in case you're watching us from across the globe, this is the Global Youth Leadership Summit, and hosted by the Pan-African Youth Foundation. So I want to welcome you all. My name is Alaji Keita Ali from Sierra Leone. So Ja, welcome, and we're looking forward for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Alaji, for having me. And hello, everyone. It might be an evening at your time, and it might be afternoon. I'm currently in Washington, D.C., but my name is Jaha Dukureh, and I am originally from the Gambia. I am the founder of Safe Hands for Girls. I am also a UN Women Regional Goodwill Ambassador for Africa. And currently, I also serve as an international spokesperson for the makeup brand L'Oreal. So today, I'm here to talk about leadership, especially global leadership in the African context. And it's very important that we understand our own communities and where we come from when it comes to leadership, and that what might work in other continents doesn't necessarily always work for us in the continent of Africa. To me, the values that have helped shape who I am, as well as my leadership throughout my journey, because not only am I from the Gambia, but I also come from a very conservative community and family where girls are generally not educated. And it's only a few of us that have managed to get an education. And it's very important that people like me lead by example, so that other families in our community can see that when you educate a girl or when you empower a woman, that doesn't necessarily mean that she devalues her community, or that she still doesn't maintain those societal and community values. So leading by example is very, very crucial in our time, especially when you look at some of the issues that I address. I work on female genital mutilation, for instance, and child marriage. And these are very sensitive cultural issues. And one thing I always tell my staff as well as my volunteers is empathy is crucial in our work, and having an understanding and being respectful. Because at the end of the day, the people that commit these practices are not bad people. They've seen their parents do it. They've seen others in the community do it for generations and generations. And as far as they are concerned, this is the only way to protect their daughters. And if we're trying to get them to abandon those cultural practices, it is very, very important that we come at it from a place of love, and that we come at it from a place of respect. And one thing that we also need to remember as young people and as Africans in general is the fact that leadership is always about the people. The reason why all of us are here and the reason why we do what we're doing is because we care about our people. And we need to put the people first when it comes to our work, the way we do it, and everything. Our approach has to be people-centered. It can't be about us as figureheads, because I think a lot of times the tendency that we see in society is if you're someone, people tend to forget that your work is not so much about you as a person, but it is about the people that you're trying to serve. Because if those issues didn't exist, the work that you're doing right now wouldn't be relevant. So always remember why you started this in the first place and who it is that you are serving. A lot of times, I think for us that are in the nonprofit sector, or what the international community thinks about the work that we do, and sometimes we forget about the people that we are trying to serve and the communities that we are serving. And the moment that we forget about those communities and those people is when we've lost it. So for me, the young people that are on this panel, the young people that are listening to me today, one of the things that I want to emphasize is the fact that leadership is about the people. And a lot of times also, I think another thing that I want to say is the change that you want to see. Sometimes we tend to start our activism and we get a lot of popularity out of it, but then we forget about the change and why we started in the first place. So it's important that you never lose sight of why you do what you're doing and the change that you seek to see in that line of work. So that is also very crucial. And I've also learned that my vulnerability, because I think when I first started this work, a lot of times I saw my vulnerability as a leader as a weakness. And this has always been a problem for me. But recently, I feel like I've grown out of that. And that helps me realize that I'm only human. And what makes me relate to people more is because of those vulnerabilities. What makes me understand their pain more is because I do realize that as a person, I also have things that I feel, and the ability to admit that when I'm wrong. Because the approach that I use, and a lot of us that are in this sector, our approaches are not always right. We need to be able to admit when we are wrong. We need to be able to stand up and know that, okay, maybe I did this, but the approach that I went about wasn't always right. That says a lot about who you are as a leader, and it doesn't take anything away from your leadership or your abilities. So I think for young people, it's important for them to understand that, and also the value of listening. And it's not always about talking, especially when I go into a community. I think one of the first things that I do is I try to listen to understand what the needs of the communities are. And when it comes to addressing issues that are related to harmful traditional practices, is about getting an understanding of why are they practicing this in the first place. What do they base it on? Because I feel like if you don't understand why people do some of the things that they do, you will never be able to get through them and see the change that you want to see. So at the end of the day, regardless of who you are, but if you're a leader, there's great value in having that listening skill and making sure that before you address an issue, you listen and that you get a deeper understanding of why that is happening. And in our line of work, as especially as people that are considered global leaders right now, it's also important that we promote diversity, that when we have summits like this or when we organize our events in our home countries, that we're not always bringing the usual people, the people that look like us, the people that talk like us, but that we are promoting diversity, that we are helping others that are not where we are, and that we're bringing up that next generation. Because I think sometimes we tend to forget that it's not always about us, and it's important that our legacy is built on the amount of people that we've carried along through that journey. I mean, I've had a lot of success in my line of work, but I make sure that I'm surrounded by young, talented people, because nothing in this world is guaranteed. And if anything, COVID-19 has taught us that we see people dying all over the world, people losing their jobs, there's so much uncertainty in this life. And the only thing that is guaranteed is the knowledge that you pass on, and the fact that you've empowered someone or you've helped shape someone's life. So yes, as global leaders, I think that's one of the things that I strive to do, and that I would encourage other people to also do. And another thing that I've learned along the way is always working together rather than doing things individually. Because I think, I mean, there's an African proverb that says that, I can't remember it, but when you walk alone or when you work together, you will go further. So I think all of us need to take that approach in and realize that the more we bring other people and the more we work together, the more successful we would be, rather than always focusing on me as a personality or me as a person, trying to always accomplish the results that I want to do and get the fame out of it. So yeah, so with when it comes to global leadership, especially looking at it from the African perspective, also having strong values that no one can change. I think as someone that is in the nonprofit development sector, I also work for the World Bank as a consultant. And as someone that is in that space, a lot of times, if you don't have strong values, you end up losing yourself in the midst of all of this, because the little things that happen can get into your head. But always know who you are and the values that you have, because I think that if there's anything that has kept me grounded, is because of those values and the upbringing that I had. Because regardless of where I go in the world, one thing I always know is the fact that I am a Soninke woman, and that's my first identity. And then I'm also an African woman, regardless of how successful I become. But keeping that in mind and having those values ingrained in my system has helped me become a better leader for not only my community, but at the global stage as well. And let me see what else, because I have my notes here. Yeah, so which I think I've already talked about, which is developing future leaders. I'm very, very passionate about young people. And to me, I feel that I have not done anything if I don't help bring up that next generation of leaders. Someone believed in me in order for me to get to where I am. So in order for us to have better Jahas and more Jahas across the continent of Africa, we need to invest our time in young people. We need to invest our resources in them. And we need to do what others did for us in order for us to get to where we are. These are the things that I wanted to share from my perspective of leadership, as well as some of the things that I've learned across my journey. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for the time. And I've listened to the panels as well as the previous keynote speakers. And I'm really, really glad that we have the opportunity to do this.
Oh, and Jaha, Dukureh, you've done justice to all of us, the Africa continent, and to all of us that have been watching or that is watching you with regards to the topic. And what an exciting presentation. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much.
So we'll definitely have some questions for you, but just hold on. After the final set of panel introduction.